Charles Greer is Charles Greer is director number 2 in an interim position that was vacated until the remainder, I believe, through the remainder of 2021.
Okay. Yeah, so we had a few vacancies just for clarification of treasurer's position and director at large number 2. Those directors were no longer able to continue on in the organization with us. And so we did appoint Mary, our membership director for the past 5 years or so. I think 5 or 6 years. Which one, Mary? Thank you so much for stepping up into that position. And Dr. Greer, who is our ANA representative to the school board, thank you so much for stepping into the other vacancy. All right, so this is basically not necessarily an approval of the special board meeting minutes that we had following the convention when we had a few vacancies of those seats, but more of an acknowledgement of the board meeting resolution that we have. And that was just to appoint the new treasurer so that we can start to transfer some of the business documents, especially as it related to the accounts. Okay. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the approval of the new board meeting schedule. Did everyone get a chance to take a look at that, or are there any thoughts about it?
So you want to move to a quarterly instead of a monthly?
What we would do is we would go to, yes, we would go to a quarterly, of course, based on our fiscal year, which is from June 1st to May 31st. So we're kind of in the first quarter right now, which is following the convention anyway. So it actually lines up great for us. What we would do is meet regularly. And of course, we could certainly sprinkle in any special board meetings that we would need to call if things were to come up. And the idea behind this was to do less meeting on the phone from month to month and to get more out in the field, promoting the profession and getting our faces out there. So of course, if we need to, the bylaws allow anywhere between 3 and 5 days where we're able to call special board meetings if anything were to come up in between time. So this is to kind of be sensitive to everyone's time. We appreciate your service. We know that this is a volunteer position. And also just to acknowledge the holiday schedule as well, so that if people are away. So that's pretty much the idea behind stretching those meetings out so that we actually have a little bit more time to gather more information, etc. Do we have a motion for the approval?
Are we going to be meeting on Mondays or Sundays?
Mondays. It will still be the 4th Monday of each month, because I know that myself and Dr. Greer, we are on the school boards on the 2nd Monday of the month, and then some of us had other obligations on certain Mondays. But we are open. It's open, does not have to be Monday, and that's why I just put it out there for you guys. Doesn't have to be at 8 p.m., but I know you all are in your practices, and typically the 8 p.m. slot was just convenient to give people time to get home, get settled, and to join the call. But there has been times where we've had afternoon meetings as well, so that is an option. So I wanted to give you guys those options, see how you felt about it, and then we put a rotation into the any other.
Monday's fine for me at 8.
Okay.
Monday at 8 is generally good for me, although sometimes we did 8:30 also, just
Okay.
depending on what people's schedules were like, but that works. So I will make a motion that we approve the new meeting schedule as presented by email by Dr. Griggs to the board.
One thing though, the annual convention It's on a Friday and Saturday, the 24th and 25th. Did you mean
Oh, you know,
Saturday and Sunday?
I meant to respond to you, that was a typo. It might have been pulling from the prior dates, recycling.
Okay.
So it's typically the last weekend of June. And the reason that we moved to that is just to allow for students, for example, to join. That way they're done with finals, et cetera, and that they can join if they would like to for the annual convention. So I do believe those were typos as far as the weekend.
So we're motioning to
And
move it to June 25th and 26th. Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Yes, we'll correct it.
let's mention that. So I'll reread the motion. And then we can vote on it. So we're moving it to June 25th and 6th. Is that correct?
Yes, Saturday, Sunday.
I don't have the document in front of me. I apologize. So we have a motion. I'm making a motion to approve the new meeting schedule tentatively for 8 p.m. on the fourth Monday, I believe, or as outlined in the schedule, and move the convention to June 25th and 26th as a correction.
Yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Who seconded? Dawn? Was that Dawn?
Yeah, I second.
Thanks, Dawn. And let's take a vote by call. Dr. Griggs,
Aye.
Dr. Hutchins, aye. Dr. Cavender? Did we lose Mary?
Or
Dr.
you have to
Olson?
unmute. Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Coker?
Aye.
Um,
I'm
and
unmuted.
Dr.
now.
Greer?
Aye.
Okay, do you vote aye, Mary?
Yes, I vote aye.
And Dr. Zayner, have you joined? And Dr. Greer?
Aye.
Okay. Dr. Griggs, we've approved the motion.
Okay, motion carries. Great, on to the next agenda item here, approval of the treasurer's report. Okay, so there were two documents emailed to the board members. Of course, the fiscal year 21 annual balance sheet, that report. So it's just a reporting of the prior year's activities. And of course, the monthly report that you received was the month of May. So from May 1st to May 31st, we're still in June. So we're still reconciling the information in the accounting software for this month. So you guys have that information detailed, but for just purposes of running current balance, that's what we have today in the account. Do we have a motion to approve the treasurer's reports?
I move we approve the treasurer's report.
Is there a second?
I second.
The motion. Okay, let's take a vote.
Were there any discussions on it from anybody?
Can I just ask, there's not a lot of details in here about what we're actually spending on right now. And I'm assuming that somewhere is it possible to see any more details in these things?
Well, the way that Wave software, because it's a little different from QuickBooks. I do use QuickBooks for the college, and it is itemized. The categories are very limited with the Wave app. So really, it's only just going to categorize,
Sure.
equipment leases, and really the association doesn't have a lot of expenses. And so that's why it's really small as far as the categories are concerned. So either we're receiving our revenue from memberships or from the conventions or the events that we're actually doing. Very few are contributions to the organization because that's not really an avenue that we were aggressively pursuing. So it's mainly the income from our annual memberships and then the conventions and other events we have. So it is itemized on the report for the entire year.
So I guess my question is, do we have the board insurance to cover us if we are sued? That was the one thing that I had.
So, if we were to pull up, let's see if I can pull up that report. I can stop this share and I can pull up and show you where you'll see that on the report. Just a
I
second.
just need to know if we have it. Do we have it?
Well, yes, we do have it, but
Okay.
I thought, it was visible on the.
It just says legal fees, equipment lease and rental. I'm assuming that's more for like MailChimp and PayPal. Oh, we don't pay for PayPal, but those sorts of things. So
Yeah, that was pretty much the best category that we can throw in, the Zoom monthly fees, the
sure.
hosting services. We had to put it under that category because it was very limited to work. But under legal is where you would find the directors and officers, and that's more in a detail. So we'll walk through the accounting software because I believe you're a user on that as well. So we'll walk so you can actually see inside of that detail. I think it's just the way that the report is generated off of the Wave app that it's not as clear, but where
Sure.
you see the legal insurance, because the only thing that they had for insurance said property. So I didn't want to select property because our DNO isn't technically property. So we're kind of limited by the functionality of the app. And so
Sure.
where you see $1,500 to $1,600, you're going to see that as a amount, an annual amount. And
All right.
that would be from the Cincinnati group. That would be the directors and officers insurance. Okay. All right, Dr. Hutchins, you may continue on.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report. Dr. Coker made the motion, Dr. Cavender seconded. Dr. Griggs, and we had discussion. Dr. Griggs, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dr. Hutchins, myself, I'll vote aye. Uh-oh. Dr. Cavender,
Aye.
Dr. Olson,
Aye.
Dr. Coker,
Aye.
Dr. Zayner, and Dr. Greer.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next item of just what we're going to do here is we are preparing for the tax filings. So it ended, the fiscal year ended May 31st. Of course, we have 6 months until that date on the 15th to file our 990s. Luckily, as an organization before, well, I wouldn't say luckily because we actually do want to raise more money, but we can file for the 990 EZ. And that's typically what the prior treasurers and her accountant was doing for us on our behalf, just filing for that. However, with the accounting software that we just signed up for in the Wave apps, they have an option where either we can choose through them, the H&R Block, or we can go with an independent certified public accounting company. And one of the recommendations that I had is what the school used. So I wanted to go over that with the board of those options for filing the 990 for 2021. Any thoughts or recommendations or of your own, or are we okay to just choose one of the two?
Which is more cost containment?
Yes, we will do that. So I guess it will be now just, I do know that for the independent CPA where the school uses is typically $1,000, but ours is a very complicated 990. The ANA is just an easy, so I could see what he would charge for, what his firm would charge for that. Ours is so much is because of how many components we have to our 990 as opposed to, and in the Wave app, I guess we could just call one of the consultants. So that's right within the tax filing. So let's see if I can kind of show you guys. Let me pull up because I think I'm in it right now. So tax filing, something that came up, as I was just going through. Okay, here we go. So here, $500, and this is, they're doing this through H&R Block. And then I can get a quote from the other guy and see, or that other company to see what he would charge. And then I guess we can go from there. But, you know, seeing that this was an option because we're already using the software and all of our transactions, the bank account is synced here, PayPal is synced here. Oh, I thought I heard someone saying something here. Okay. So those were the options. And Dawn, Mary, you're still able to, were you able to successfully log on, Dawn, to the Wave apps?
Yeah, I'm on. I just haven't been able to understand how they're actually displaying information yet. So
Yeah, you know what, this one, because we were using QuickBooks at the school, and I didn't necessarily want us to start incurring a charge monthly using that, you know, when we could use this. And this one is really good because it even allows for us, we've done the onboarding, so we are even able to accept payments. So let's take it here. So of course, these
when you-
widgets would be,
When you click on chart of accounts, does it have a section where you could add account detail? Or is it only a predetermined, like QuickBooks does? That was on the last screen, chart of accounts.
sorry, I don't know how I got here on mute. I'm still navigating the software myself as an
I get it.
for us. Now, if it were QuickBooks Online, I've become quite the expert on that. But again, I don't want us to incur that monthly charge for it.
Okay.
And this is pretty similar. But yes, we can still add things. And Mary and I have actually been working. That's why we were able to get through the last fiscal year and somewhat of this part of the month. We still need to go inside of the PayPal transactions. And I'll kind of show you guys what I mean here when it comes to the deposits. And so her and I are meeting up tomorrow, actually. And of course, this is this current fiscal year, so it's not part of the report that we just approved anyway. But just for example, in the PayPal transfers here, we have to go inside there and actually look into the old account and itemize out what that deposit detail is. So that's just something, you know, that just takes a little time to go through. But as far as all of the expenses, they have been categorized into the categories that they had available for us. And it's not many to choose from, but it works. It works for us, you know, as a professional organization where we don't have a whole lot of bills or a whole lot of transactions from day to day or month to month. So, you know, but I like it. I like it. It's very simple. It integrates with a lot of different things that we have now and those widgets that we'll be able to place on the website. A lot of people were having problems with PayPal, and that's actually something that's going to come up in one of the next bullet points. Some people, they don't even like utilizing the PayPal because of whatever problems that they had before. And so this option in us being able to accept payments directly from the website. So the web development team will be integrating the widgets from this software onto our website. We'll be able to send invoices as well, and it will go directly into this software. And then we'll be able to reconcile very seamlessly as opposed to all of these different places. But we still have our PayPal, even, you know, but we're giving more options to our members and other people that may solicit our services if they don't like the PayPal. So that's about it on the Wave app. There we are here. So we will get the quotes for both, and I will follow up with the board on the, well, we already know the 500 And we're only doing the state of Illinois, so we know it's not 150 for each additional state. So we'll go and see what the other companies, and if you guys have any trusted people that you work with, just let me know. All right, old business. So some of the things in the old business, I went through some of the past minutes that we had before the new board, just to get a gist of some things that maybe we were discussing in prior board meetings that we may not have resolved. One of the things that was the Amazon Smile account. Now, we all know that we can share, we can ask people to name us as the charity in the Amazon Smile account so that we can receive some sort of contributions through that. And I think that when we had to update details, maybe a few years ago, it hadn't been updated in a while. And so we needed to create official email addresses to be able to collect and update that type of information. So that we'll discuss just a little bit more when we talk about the ANA's official website, because that kind of ties into it. Some of the other old business, speaking about the ANA-INA PAC account, I will be in touch with Ted this week. I did send an email. Ted is the president of the INA, Illinois Naturopathic Association, as far as how we're moving forward with that. And then also the lobbyists. I spoke with her a few months ago. We've been corresponding by email. Ms. Necris, we do have her on the line today. Thank you for showing up today. Thank you so much. And her firm, they provided a very, very detailed, well put together, I guess, an estimate or proposal, if we will, of what the services will be for us from year to year. And those are some of the things that we sent in prior emails, but they are going to draw up something for us that's a little bit more official, and then we'll be able to send out to the board and the membership and the profession at large shortly. Was there anything that you wanted to say or add, Ms. Necritz?
I don't think so. I'm just really excited to get to work and be representing all of you in Springfield, at least at the Illinois State Capitol.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, give me just a second here. All right, new business. We're moving right on to that. So the ANA official website change, as we were changing leadership and transitioning all of those business documents, we have nephropathy.org. That has been the official ANA website for many years, decades. And there was just a few things with some of the prior board members. They may not have remembered some of the original account creation details. So we had a few different hoops we had to jump through to get the ownership of those accounts switched over from the prior leadership to myself so that we can gain access into the registration company that we purchased the domain name nephropathy.org from. So we are, it's been about 2 weeks of that song and dance, but we are inside of that now. However, as a protective mechanism, a lot of hosted companies do it. Whenever the primary contact name changes, they lock the site for 30 days, sometimes 30 to 60 days. So nephropathy.org, even though now we have access in, it is locked and we're not able to transfer it right away. But it's very important in our marketing efforts and the things that we're doing to expand the profession to have an active website. And that is when we made the purchase for napropath.org. And once the 30-day limit, once that is released and we're able to successfully transfer it over to the current hosting that we have now, anyone that types in nephropathy.org or napropath.org will be directed to the site that we have now. And if you were to go to napropath.org, it's the page is parked now with a message under construction. But nephropathy.org is still an active site, although not as secure, but it's still active and running, but it's kind of undergoing that transition that we're going through right now. The PayPal account update, we did transition over into a new account. Again, it's pretty much the same thing. where we had the originators of some of these accounts that's no longer a part of the board and et cetera. And then we had the board that we had before that may not have known those original details. And as we're trying to update the names and accounts, it's important to do that. So we ended up starting a new PayPal account that has the correct and current members on there, so that if any one of us needed to call on behalf of the organization and make updates or just handle any kind of business, that we don't run into any type of problems. And so, it was very shocking that these type of things had not been done, but nonetheless, we do have that now with the PayPal update. Let's see here, moving on. Some of these things we have talked about. We talked about the Wave apps. That's something that is new to the organization, and a marketing through the Facebook and Instagram ads. So the ANA has always had a Facebook page, but now we are on Twitter, Instagram. The LinkedIn page was there and available, but not claimed. So that was something that I had done within the past couple of days, and in the creation of the YouTube channel. And so we tried to keep everything user-friendly, the same name, because we have a lot of education to do about our great profession, and we don't want people to have different names all over the place. So we are at Napropath 1907. And one of the things that I was learning from the marketing team, that having those type of at least with the established year is a part of your hashtags and things, it just gives more legitimacy when people are questioning, okay, what is this? Is this something new, or has it been around for a little while? But at those usernames, with the exception of YouTube's. So when you guys get the emails, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, because once we get to 100 subscribers, then we would be able to customize our YouTube channel so that it matches what our usernames are at our other social media. So I was trying to update it, and I realized that that was the one hiccup. So we want to make sure that we're all subscribed and following all of our own social media, and that we're also inviting our friends from Facebook, sharing any of the posts that are going on, making sure that we're participating in the hashtags, because all of that, anytime you search a hashtag, it's going to just bring up everything that's out there that's associated with that hashtag. And so we really want mass awareness of nephropathy, because we do know that that's one of the deficiencies of the profession, but that's okay though. So we're really excited about changing that, because I am interested in all of your ideas for how we can do that. So that's just part of the new business, the marketing, which was something that, well, that was one of our deficiencies. Moving on to committee reports, membership relations. Dr. Mary, did you want to share anything there? I know you and I have talked, so I know you tell me all the time, but if there anything additionally that you want to share with the board?
No, just had a new member to pay his dues. I deposited that today. Otherwise, we have the same number that's on the report. And of course, I don't have that in front of me. I left it at the office. But just updating all the memberships from the forms where they signed up at the convention. So as soon as we're able to put that on the site, then that will be brought up to date.
Okay.
I
And
got
of
the
course,
pack.
Do we have a rough number?
the renewed and new.
I didn't prepare for the membership report tonight, because I'm not the membership report
Okay.
chair.
Was that about 40, Shante?
46
46. Okay.
new and and returning. Mhm.
And one returning added to that number in the
Oh,
last
okay.
days. Sambu.
Okay, 47. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Business affairs, Don. Oh, she's on mute.
So, because Ms. Necritz is on, can we throw her some questions? Would that be okay, Ms. Necritz? I would love to get some opinions from you about a few things. Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so can I share my screen?
Oh, yeah, let me go on and, let's see here. Hold on, let's see, that's your main.
So,
And Elaine
It
does
should-
just fine. I don't need to be.
Elaine, okay, great. Elaine, I'm Dr. Olson. So I was kind of going through trying to make a plan for renewing our license. And one of the questions I have, we know that there's the healthcare licensing committee. The current members are Teresa Ma, Kelly Burke, Anna Mueller, Bob Morgan. Anyway, all of those healthcare license committee. Would you recommend those are the people we need to reach out to first, or at least in the legislator for us to get familiar with them and them to get familiar with us, and to even ask for co-sponsors of our bill coming up here? Or is the first order of business trying to get support from people like the American Medical American Medical Society and the PT Society and all those other people? Like, what is your recommendation in our pursuit of this? Like, where do we need to attack first?
So I think the first thing we need to do is to reach out to the Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, IDFPR. In part because I think, in my experience, they're doing some rewrites of the practice acts that are go across all the practice acts, and I think we would want to understand what are they looking for, and what are we looking for, and how would we want to work together to do that. So because we would want to develop a bill, and I would think we would want Representative Ma involved in that, because she's a huge champion, wants to be involved, and I think having her leading that effort would be most important for us.
Okay.
Then I would say in terms of support with the stakeholders versus the legislators, kind of both and at the same time, to the extent we can do that, would be helpful.
Okay. So one thing I wanted to pick your ear about is there's two things that I saw come across. One is the nurses are trying to get a cohort, a license that would be able to practice in multiple states. And my question is, that is really what we need in order to grow. But we're only licensed in Illinois and New Mexico. What we would love to do is see it be possible for us to get bordering states, because it would be a lot easier to recruit new students and have people practice over borders and do telehealth kind of things. So I know I'm reaching for the stars here, but I'm just wondering, with the state of things, nurses are asking for it. I was looking at their bill. Is that something that you think is even possible for us at this point? And would that be asking too much in this ask?
Yeah, I would want to stick with the extension of the licensure first. The nurses have been trying to do that for probably as long as I've been around the legislature, which is going on 20, 25 years, and they've not been successful in doing that. So I think that multi-state compact is a really big lift, and like, if it's not doable for the nurses, likely not doable for you all.
Okay. See, that's why I needed to pick your brain, because I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, is this even possible? So
yeah, it doesn't feel like it to me, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so that was what I wanted to know.
Great.
And actually, we have and not to cut you off, but it does segue us into one of the guests that we have here that was bringing on, because this is a naturopath that is from another state. And so I did want to bring her in and introduce everyone, because she's also someone that piqued interest to join our board, and actually may have reached out to some of the prior leadership before in joining the ANA board. So I didn't mean to cut, just, for the sake of the time, and we definitely will be able to meet more with Ms. Neckwitz and actually get more into the details of and the logistics of how we would maneuver for that. But I did want to introduce to you guys Dr. Kristen Poe. Again, she was a presenter for us with one of our conventions, and she is a naturopath that is in another state. So Dr. Poe, would you like to introduce yourself to us and the rest of the board?
Sure. I'm Kristen Poe. It's so nice to meet you all. It's an honor to be here tonight. Like Dr. Griggs said, I did have the honor of speaking at the ANA meeting back in December. I have a PhD in alternative medicine, and I am also a naturopath. I am practicing right outside of Boston, Massachusetts. As far as I know, I am the only naturopath here in Massachusetts. I've done a multitude of searches and just like looking around, and there's just absolutely nothing in the area, but it's going over really well and spreading really quickly. I do have my own practice, but I also work out of a large chiropractic and wellness practice. I work with 2 or 3 other awesome chiropractors, and I'm getting to the point now they're actually referring their patients over to me. Because I'm positioning it as I am an ally of you, not a replacement. And that seems to go over very well. And their patients that are coming over are like, wow, I've never experienced anything like this, but they keep coming back for more. And it piques a lot of interest. I get a lot of questions like, what exactly do you do? And can you help me with this condition or that condition? So I just see a massive opportunity for education, for promotion, and for kind of moving into a space that I think has a lot of opportunity.
Absolutely. That was one of the reasons I really wanted to invite you to the call. And that's one of the things that I definitely did campaign on in the expansion. It is an uphill battle I do understand the challenges, but nonetheless, I'm still motivated to just try and to see, because what we do, a lot of people need, and that's pretty much how we're coming off. One of the things that I even talk about in the school is that our medicine is certainly complementary to any type of medicine, but moreover, now it's becoming more integrative. And so we're not a threat to practitioners of other fields, not at all. And in my other background, being a pharmacist as well, as PharmD, I'm connected to so many other doctors. And it was serendipitous almost to come into another field where we're connected to so many practitioners, to replace them at all, but just to be advocates in addition to whatever it is that they're doing to help them care for their patients. And when they start to learn orthopedic surgeons, rheumatoid arthritis, rheumatologists, that's the word I was looking for. They're starting to realize, oh, we really like these connective tissue specialists out there in Facebook land. We're connective tissue specialists. But I wanted to just throw that out there, that I'm really excited about expanding over into other states and exploring that. I do know that it's hard when it comes to the politics of it, but there are some other states where it's not as political, and they could use, especially in the times of COVID. And, so I'm really excited about the opportunities there. Just to move on through what we have on the screen there, Digest and the Prophethy, that is our e-newsletter. I'll be sure to put in the Facebook thread a link so that you can sign up for it, everyone, if you guys are not on that list as well. And we did business affairs and legislature kind of in the same discussion. What I'd like to do now is to turn over a portion of this to our guest, Dr. Neil Mesha. Give me a second. I should have yours pulled up. Hold on here.
All right, before those slides appear, there are some slides that you don't have yet, and I just wanted to give you a little background in terms of the history of the accreditation effort. Back in 2012, I was put in charge of the accreditation effort for the school. And we were we were working with a group called the National Accreditation for Colleges and Schools. And the reason why is because the school in New Mexico chose that group for accreditation. So we thought it was prudent to seek accreditation from the same group. The problem was, well, we actually achieved accreditation from that group, full accreditation, but that group was working with the U.S. Department of Education for recognition, but they did not achieve full recognition. Furthermore, they went out of business. So that was a very unfortunate thing. In 2019, we had an in-house accreditation group, and we wanted to look at accreditation again. And what we ended up doing in the summer of 2019 is deciding that we're going to come up with an accreditation body of our own instead of looking for one that is out there. So we came up with something called the Commission on Accreditation of Naturopathic Colleges. During the summer, we found out that the school in New Mexico was working with another accrediting agency. We wanted to find out what that agency was. It took us until pretty much December of 2020 to find out the group that they were working with. And that's I was not able to find out personally, but it was brought to my attention that they were working with a group called the Distance Education Accrediting Commission. And we're going to talk about them. They are one of the national accrediting agencies. So at that time, we decided in December of 2020, we decided to go back to the accreditation issue, but this time do a thorough review of what is out there. What are the type of accreditors that are out there? So, so we'll start out with some terminology. So there are independent schools and independent school accreditors. The problem with this group, independent schools, is that it took a while to find out that they don't apply to us. Independent schools really means, even though it sounds like it would include us, it really doesn't. In that industry of accreditation, it really only means accrediting in kindergarten to 12th grade. So next slide. Okay, how about the next slide, please? Okay. So let's look at another term, institutional accreditation. This is actually a category that we need to pursue. Institutional accreditation may be required in some states to work in the field, often required by employers, may be required to take national or state examinations. However, the most important feature is when a school pursues institutional accreditation, the most important feature is the ability to access Title IV funding. So our next slide. Okay, hopefully you can hear me. Okay, so Title IV is really what we need. And we're going to talk about a term called programmatic accreditation. It turns out that is something we do not need to pursue. Most accreditors out there are programmatic accreditors. The problem with programmatic accreditors is that once you get accreditation by them, it does not mean that the students of a program accredited school can access Title IV. Title IV is what we need, because the reason why we don't need program accreditation is because in the state of Illinois, our students are already allowed to take an examination. So that's what normally program accreditation means, but we already have that. The only thing that we need of great importance is allowing our students to be able to access Title IV. So Title IV refers to the Title IV Higher Education Act of 1965. Title IV approved college and university students are allowed to apply for all these kinds of financial programs: federal Pell grants, federal supplemental education opportunity grants, federal Perkin loans. Next slide. So next slide. Let's see. Federal subsidized loans, and the most important, William D. Ford Federal Direct Student Loans, which replace, with probably a number of us remember, the Stafford loans. So the Stafford loans were replaced in 2010 with this new terminology, the William D. Ford Federal Direct Loans. And once a student gets this federal loan money or grant money, that money can be applied for tuition, room and board, mandatory fees, college health center fees, security fees for housing. And about 6,000 colleges currently participate in accessing Title IV. So our next, I want to now jump to, if I can ask Dr. Griggs to, instead of going into this detail, we'll go to slide 21, because this lecture, this presentation really is based on a much, much larger presentation, but I know I only, thank you, that's exactly where I want to go. I was limited to only 10 minutes. So instead of a thorough presentation of everything that we looked at, we'll just try and get to the essentials. So what do we really want? What do we really need? National College of Naturopathic Medicine needs either regional or institutional accreditation that will allow students to access Title IV funds, not programmatic accreditation. Institutional accreditation are agencies that are either regional or national, but not programmatic. So we're going to review that. What are the regional accreditation agencies? There are only 6. What are the national accreditation agencies? There's only 7. So anyway, a little bit about regional accreditors, the highest form of accreditation. Regional accreditation assures access to Title IV funds. Transfer of credits is typically assured. That really applies on the undergraduate level. On the graduate level, regardless of whether you're dealing with a school, one school or another school that has regional accreditation, that doesn't necessarily mean that credits will transfer, but it will transfer on the undergraduate level. As I said, there's 6 regional accreditors, and for our region accreditor is now called the Higher Learning Commission. So next slide. Our next slide. Okay. Oh, where we were. So if we can go one up, let's see. If we missed one. Okay. So I'll just, there we go. Our regional accreditor, the Higher Learning Commission, is a very, if we had a map, it's quite huge. It's much of central United States, but now includes the state of Arizona, Arkansas, and Colorado. So it's a total of 19 states now. And the process is a 3-part process, and that's true of all accreditors. We start out as an applicant, candidacy, and fully accredited. So that is one option, not our only option, but if we were to achieve regional accreditation, that would be our best accreditation. So next slide. So let's look at our next slide. Let's see. Okay. So the next category of accreditors are called national accreditors. So national accreditors are a lower level of accreditation than regional accreditation. It does allow access to Title IV funds. However, transfer of credits, even on the undergraduate level, may not be assured. However, the Higher Learning Commission recommends the following national accreditors, of which there are 7. So let's take a look at them. Our next slide then. Let's take a look. Okay. The first, the Distance Education Accrediting Commission. Now, this is the accrediting agency that the school in New Mexico is working with right now. So the next would be the Accrediting Bureau of Health Education Schools. The problem with this national accreditor is they are not yet accrediting doctoral programs. The third is the Accrediting Commission of Career Schools and Colleges. Again, their problem is that they are not accrediting doctoral programs. The fourth one, the Council on Occupational Education, again, not accrediting doctoral programs. We'll have some better news on our next slide. So the fifth, the National Accrediting Commission of Career Arts and Sciences. This is a possible group. And I've been in touch with them and at least their board has been in discussion about expanding their scope in terms of including or trying to add on new disciplines and new schools. So we just need to continue talking with them. Another group, this would have been our best national accreditor if this were a few years ago, the Accrediting Council for Independent Colleges and Schools. However, just this year with the new administration, they're having a number of legal problems. This is an old accrediting agency going back to around 1912, but a number of complaints were lodged against them a few years ago, and right now they may be losing their ability to grant accreditation in terms of per the U.S. Department of Education, and therefore schools accredited by them may not be able to, their students may not be able to access Title IV funding. And then the seventh one just doesn't apply to us because it's the Accrediting Council for Continuing Education and Training. So we don't need that. That's not something we're worried about. We already have continuing medical education. So just a review of the first group that is a strong possibility for us. The Distance Education Accrediting Commission located in Washington, D.C. So it's an institutional accreditor for private nonprofit schools, predominantly distance education. What they mean by that, they want 51% of the school's courses to be distance education. They want the school to be properly licensed to operate. The school must be enrolling students in the current curriculum for at least 2 consecutive years. They want to see that the school is financially sound, and the name of the school is free of association with activity that may damage this accrediting body. So our next slide. Okay. The school, the owners, governing board, officials, and administrators possess sound reputations and demonstrate a record of integrity and ethical conduct. And the school agrees that owners, officers, and managers may be subject to a background check by them. So our next slide. Okay, let's go to our next slide. So in fact, I'm not going to review this for us. We have this, the process. We'll save this for a later time when we'll go into more detail about what is expected. This slide is interesting because just to give everyone an idea of the kind of finances we're talking about. So to apply with them, the initial application is $4,500. So we need to do something that they call their readiness assessment. That's another $3,000. Another instrument of review that they want $750. And then when a site team actually comes to the school, and this is unavoidable. So even back in 2012, the group from Marietta, Georgia, we had a site team come out and spend 2 days with us. So that's actually quite typical. And there were 2 members of that team. That's quite typical as well. So in the site visit, they want $3,250 a day per evaluator. So just keep that in mind. So next slide. So our next slide. Okay. The problem with the ABHES is that even though they're a national accreditation agency, the problem with them is that, as I said, they're not going to be accrediting doctoral programs. So next slide. So next slide. So just moving through this quickly. As I said, that previous slide, which we ran through, they only accredit up to the master's degree. So this slide only gives you an idea of money. So what we would spend if they were to agree to accredit us. So at this point, the fact that they're not accrediting doctoral programs, that would be difficult for us. But anyway, let's move on to another slide. Okay. So the Accrediting Commission of Career Schools and Colleges, located in Arlington, Virginia, all the national accreditors are recognized by the Department of Education. Also, another CHEA, EA is an association of accreditors. So it's recognized by them as well. And currently they're accrediting 789 schools. So we'll move to the next slide. Okay. The problem with them, we just lost that slide again. They're not accrediting. Okay. So they're not accrediting doctoral programs. So let's move on. Okay. The Council on Occupational Education, located in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's move on to the next slide. Okay, next slide. Okay. The problem with them is, again, they're not recognizing doctoral programs. So we'll just move on. Okay. We don't need to review the process. The process is usually similar. This one I want to spend a little time with. The National Accrediting Commission of Career Arts and Sciences, located in Alexandria, Virginia. Now, their executive director, by the way, is a chiropractor, Dr. Tony Mirando. This group typically accredits cosmetology schools, but they are looking at specialized schools. And I talked with them. So there's the possibility that we might actually have a dialogue with them. So let's look at the next slide. Next slide. Okay. So I was, okay. So anyway, you heard that. I'm not controlling these slides, by the way. So anyway, so to that last organization, unfortunately, well, the good news is that they're willing to talk, and it's possible that they might consider a school of naturopathic medicine. Okay. this, if you see the highlight word specialized schools, so that is the possibility. It needs further discussion, further investigation, further negotiation. So anyway, next slide. We'll move on to the next one. Next slide. Okay. Oh, I'm just losing that. Let's see. So if we can go up, okay. If we can go up, okay. The ACICS, if we can go one up, if we can go just one up, please. Okay, well, anyway. This last group, the ACICS accreditation group, if we can go up, one up, please, if that's possible. Okay. So anyway, the problem with this accrediting agency, which I mentioned is a group that goes back to 1912, is they would have been a good choice if we went to them years ago, if we went to them back in 2012 or before. They were a very viable accrediting agency. Unfortunately, complaints were lodged against them back in 2016. They were being protected up until January by the Secretary of Education, Betsy DeVos. They were given the opportunity to straighten things up, that sort of thing. But right now, the new administration has basically taken the position that this group needs to at least temporarily have its ability to accredit in terms of Department of Education recognition withdrawn. So anyway, let's move on. Let's go to the next. Okay, so another category would be specialty accreditors. So specialty accreditors are essentially accrediting agencies that normally are programmatic accreditors, but they do have the ability to grant Title IV funding if the school is independent of a larger university. That would include the American Bar Association, the American Osteopathic Association, the Council on Chiropractic Education, the American Podiatric Medical Association, the Commission on Massage Therapy, for instance. So our next slide. Go to our next slide. Okay. So the key is that a specialty accreditor could grant essentially access to Title IV if the school is independent of a larger university. So I mentioned the American Bar Association. I'll give you an example. Northwestern University, its law school, is part of the larger university. So the assumption there would be that that Northwestern University has regional accreditation from the Higher Learning Commission. So the law school then would be given programmatic accreditation. However, the American Bar Association can grant accreditation where its students can access Title IV funding if the law school was freestanding and not part of a larger university. You don't see that too much here in Illinois, but other states you do, like California. You'll have freestanding law schools that are not part of a larger university. So that leads to the possibility that the American Naturopathic Association could become essentially a specialty accreditor. However, to make that happen, which means to get the recognition from the U.S. Department of Education, that would require that, well, it would require a lot of time and money, quite honestly. It would require, I would say these days, about $500,000 in about 5 years for an association like the ANA to try to become an accreditor. as we were talking about a specialty national accreditor. However, a point that I wish to pursue, since I've learned from other accredited agencies, which I didn't mention here, but some accrediting agencies, they'll grant the school full accreditation and then say, now you still have to apply to the US Department of Education for Title IV funding. And that has caused me to ask the question, can we apply directly to the US Department of Education for Title IV funding, essentially ask for a waiver in terms of the school not having normal accreditation. So that's something that could be looked into. Can we bypass the whole process? Because we already have. You're done? Okay, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I heard something. Okay, so anyway, this is just a review of where we're at. We've been working at this for a few months, trying to review all the areas of accreditation. What does it mean to be an accreditor? What kind of accreditors are there? And what are some possible accreditors that we can be looking at? And so we discovered a few. So I hope I didn't lose too many people here. So we do have a few for instance, we do have at least one national accreditor that we can look at, the same accreditor that the school in New Mexico is working with. And then, as I said, we should be looking again with the regional accreditor and look at some of these other possibilities and some of the groups that I identified that we might be able to work with.
You, Dr. Mesha. When it comes to the specialty accreditors, I wanted to also, if you could also explain to the board as the ANA, how that process would go. Just for transparency, clarification, there were some discrepancies before where certain members thought, how the ANA would accredit NCNM and that it was actually this board, or, could you just briefly go into how the ANA would actually need to set that up to be able to be recognized by the U.S. Department of Education?
Right. To go through the process officially, the ANA would have to set up a board, an accrediting board, and an accrediting body that would not be the same board as the board that I'm speaking to right now. So it'd have to be a separate board, but devoted to the accreditation process, because so many professional associations are in fact the accrediting agency. There's so many. I only identified a small number. You didn't get the full presentation. So we mentioned the American Bar Association, but also the American Osteopathic Association, the American Podiatric Association, and so many, even the American Medical Association, even though their accrediting agency doesn't have the term AMA in it, but it's still ultimately the organization that is in charge of the accreditation process. So the ANA would have to set up a separate accrediting body, and then pursue the process of recognition by the US Department of Education. So when an accreditor pursues recognition from the US Department of Education, they're pursuing either programmatic accreditation, which, as I tried to explain, programmatic accreditation is not going to allow students to get Title IV funding. It allows proper recognition, allows graduates to be able to take licensing exams, that sort of thing. So when an accreditor approaches the U.S. Department of Education, they're applying either to be a programmatic accreditor or a national accreditor / specialty accreditor. So that's where we would be. We would be in a national / specialty accreditor category. Why? Because what's needed by this school, the National College of Naturopathic Medicine, is students to be able to access Title IV funding. We don't need anything else. We already have the ability. Our students have the ability to take a licensing exam, whether it be here in Illinois or in New Mexico. So we already have that. So that's what I was trying to say. That's what program accreditation or programmatic accreditation does. It really just allows students to take licensing exams for the most part. We need something else. We need to access Title IV. That's our only real reason to pursue accreditation. We'd
And
have
of course,
to.
because of the way that, accreditation, that term, it's attractive, it's sexy. And when students, they're peeking and they're looking into different schools and they want to know if it is accredited, one of the ways that we could still say, hey, we're accredited, is of course going through, and this is something that Dr. Mesh and I have spoke about, the specialty accreditor. Now, of course, it's going to take minimally 5 years, $500,000, approximately for the ANA itself to be able to do that. And it's not to say that that's not something that can be explored and planned out a little bit more down the line, because of course we are looking at longevity and the future of nephropathy. So it's definitely something to pursue and to begin putting steps into place to now fundraise for that and to be able to set up such a council. Now, the college had an accreditation committee that was entitled NCNM Accreditation Committee. And one of my hopes were to be able to transition that group of people to work with Dr. Mesha and the research and all these things to become the actual council on colleges, so that they are advising us on what they find, the findings. He has a much longer, lengthier presentation about that. That's very detailed. I do appreciate you getting on a call tonight, Dr. Mesha, just to give us these brief details. But we've been at this for maybe 8 months, looking at the possibility of what would be the best method for NCNM, what deficiencies we have, where we've been, where we're going, how do we work through this. And one of the ways, of course, I was even looking into is the specialty accreditor. We may even be, and this is something that Dr. Mesha mentioned before too, we may even be able to appeal to the American Osteopathic Association for a level of specialty accreditation that gives the disclaimer that although they're going to recognize, it may not necessarily be recognized by the U.S. Department of Education. But yet still, students aren't looking at the levels like, wait a minute, do they have this accreditation, or are they just looking to see if something is accredited enough to give us that prestige of accreditation? Because I know as a student, when I was in pharmacy school, I wasn't looking at the level of accreditation UIC had for my pharmacy program. It was just enough to know that it was accredited, and that if I wanted to transfer, I can transfer my credits. That was really the only real benefit that I, as a student back then, would even think about, okay, why would a school need to have accreditation? So that I could be able to move around. And that's certainly an incentive for students. But with a specialty program as ours, we really want to market in a way that the students, they know that they want to become naturopaths, they want to pursue this, and that they're not thinking to jump and bounce around, especially when you get to a doctorate level. There's no time for games. When you're at a doctorate level, you're in. And so it's not like undergrad when you're trying to explore all of your options. And really, it's just the access to the Title IV lending, funding, that Dr. Mesha was talking about, and seeing that so many things have changed, that achieving accreditation doesn't give us automatic access to Title IV funds. We have to go and apply for that. And that was one of the things that he was mentioning, that we may be able to, as we are just go and apply to see if we can get Title IV funds, which now gives our prospective students the ability to fill out a financial aid application. Now, they may not be getting grants because when you're at the doctorate level, you're not really going to get the MAP and Pell Grant anyway, but at least those Stafford loans you'll be able to get access to, which helps us out because we're leveraging that student loan program within the institution. So if we had an outside institution funding our students, it removes a barrier for entry. And so that where we have these lower numbers of students coming in, if we could achieve that with our grandfather status and the waiver that he mentioned in the slide, the last slide that we see here, that is something that we really want to now pursue now that we found out that just because you spend $100,000 or more and achieve accreditation doesn't automatically get you access to Title IV funds. And since
Yes.
really our end game is the funding, because we need to increase those students, we want to see maybe we can just go through that route and maybe do something of a specialty accreditation that will, where we can have that legal disclaimer about the type of accreditation that we have. And that might be the most, the path of least resistance for the college. So thank you again, Dr. Mesha,
Oh, you're
for
welcome.
giving this portion on the Council on Colleges. I hope it was helpful for everyone to kind of understand, because we've been at this for months. With let me see, and that's not desktop.
So Dr. Griggs, if I can add, you're exactly right. We've been at this for a very long time. And I just wanted to let the board know that part of this learning process, even though I've been through accreditation, even before 2012 at other universities, this was a great learning process in terms of the details, in terms of what exactly do we have to pursue. So I just wanted to let people know I'm still researching this, and we're still trying to find some possibilities. And I want to leave you with one thought: the ANA can still claim to be an accreditor, but when they advertise that, they'll have to state that they're not yet recognized by the U.S. Department of Education, just so that there can be legal clarity.
Okay.
Can I say one thing
so-
about that? You know, in our Practice Act, it just says has to graduated from a curriculum in appropriately approved by the Department of Professional Regulation. In approving a curriculum in appropriately, the department shall consider but not be bound by a curriculum approved by the American Naturopathic Association. It doesn't have to be an accredited, an accredited institution. It just has to be approved by the Department of Professional Regulation.
Yes.
And they're deferring to us already.
Yes.
So I understand that, in order to get Title IV funds, accreditation would be great. And for people to be able to transfer credits, it would be great. But in order to get licensed here in Illinois,
Right.
we don't need it at this point.
No.
Correct?
No, that's why I was saying we already have in place everything needed where a school would pursue programmatic accreditation. We don't need to do that because we have everything in place. Our graduates can pursue a license. So that's why pursuing programmatic accreditation is a waste of time. And most accreditors are programmatic. So we've narrowed it down to we need accreditation. If we're going to pursue accreditation, we need accreditation that allows students to access Title IV funds. That's the only real reason for pursuing accreditation.
Now, if this was a brand new college, we decided to set up shop somewhere in another state, both avenues would have to probably be traveled because we would want those students to be able to graduate to get a subsequent license. And that's what he was saying for the programmatic for students once they graduate. And to get licensed, then yes, a program would need the programmatic accreditation. But when you're starting out and you want students to apply and be able to pay for it, that Title IV funding is really what we're seeking to do. And what he's just saying is that NCNM, it's been grandfathered. There's already a license. There's already a licensing exam. really, we just need the money. We need the students to be able to get the access to the money to be able to pay for the education here.
Dr. Messier? Oh,
So we're in a very unique situation. We are very unique as schools go in this country because of we don't, as we're stating, we're in a situation where we don't need to get any kind of accreditation to allow graduates to take a state licensing exam. We're really special in that way, very special.
has any you mentioned possibly looking for a waiver from the Department of Education on Title IV funding?
Yes,
Has
I want to
anyone
do that.
investigated how that process works? Or the
It's an
likelihood?
application process, and I'm willing to do it. And I just really discovered that very recently by looking at another accrediting body. And when I explored the details of that accreditation process from that other accreditor, they said, even if we grant the school full accreditation, the school still has to then take our accreditation and then still apply to the U.S. Department of Education for Title IV funding. So that gave me the idea. Well, if it's a separate application process, can we do that? Can we apply to the U.S. Department of Education for the Title IV funding, explain our situation, explain that we're in a very unique situation, that we've existed for a very long time. We've existed since 1908 as a school. And we've tried to pursue accreditation, but it's been, well, with great difficulty. And if a waiver is possible, I think that is the appropriate thing. I'm willing to look into that. I'm willing to try that.
Yes.
It would seem like a bit of a shortcut.
Yes.
Higher aspirations for down the road once we have students.
Of course, of course. So we're moving on to the close of the meeting. And so we have the screen up here for board member comments. So this now gives everybody the opportunity to express anything here. And so we can just go in order. Dr. Hutchins.
I don't have any comments this evening. Thank you.
Dr. Cavender.
No comments at this time.
Dr. Olson.
Lots of comments, but I don't want to keep you guys. One quick thing, we were thinking about doing, say, a monthly, oh gosh, can I just present it really fast? Can I get 2 minutes, guys? That's all I really need. Okay, so
sure, I'm sorry. Okay, hold on here. Okay,
that's okay. I'll just, you know what, you don't even have to see it. I'll share it with you guys in a minute, but basically what I wanted to do was kick off like a monthly naturopathy grand rounds where we did sort of a continuing ed at the school where we could and like along with it do a community outreach event that would allow us to bring in legislatures as well as like public servants, first responders, military, firemen, police officers, for like a free spinal and injury screenings and possibly eventually a treatment. I wanted to find out if we did something like that, do you think that we would, and my question is, if we did that, I would love to have the ANA and INA sponsor it, so that we can show the unity that we're all working together. Would this be something that you guys would consider approving? To sponsor.
That's a great idea to get, the community involved, because it's really going to be them that's going to advocate for us as a profession. Right. Yeah, so I think that's a great idea. I'd love to brainstorm on that and see how we can pull something together. We're in the summer, and things are opening up now. So yeah, absolutely. So I guess we move around to the rest of the members, we can see how they feel about what you just proposed. Dr. Coker. Well, comments, well, not necessarily to respond to her, but any comments or questions you got.
Comments for Dawn or about?
Either or, the meeting in general, or Don, or what she just
Well,
proposed.
Dawn, I'd be interested in knowing more about what you're thinking, how do we go from screening to treating to having the community want it, and will it
Right.
always be at the college or doing different locations, in the area?
Sure. So I will send, because I don't want to take up all the time because I know we've already gone way over what we should. So I'm just going to share it to all of you, kind of my proposal. It's a work in progress, but basically we do an hour of basically like new intake forms, medical history, showing people how to do those kinds of things. And then we would practice on the community members that come in. And then we would do a debrief and basically choose like 3 best cases and do like a case workup and treatment plan for those. And then we would demo probably a treatment on one of those people. But that was kind of my thought, and we could use it as a continuing ad for the DNs that come. It would be a way to reach out to the community and hopefully invite some legislatures, because I would love for them to see what we do and be able to present to them what we do. But I know we can't go to Springfield to do that, but we could invite them to the school to do that. It was kind of my idea. So again, let me see if, let's see, can I share my screen? I think I can. Let me just see if I can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this really quickly, it was just basically we were going to invite the NAPRPAs to come. The program would be like 3 to 6. We do new intake forms with a history. I was thinking of using the AIM guidelines or Medicare guidelines to basically show what they require of us in order to get insurance reimbursement, and kind of walk through like how can we do this in a short time with a lot of people, and then doing kind of a grand rounds kind of presentation about what you can do for those individuals. And then, we could do invitations where we could send it to all of our legislatures, inviting them to this kind of injury and spinal screening and presentation of neuropathy, but also like first responders, any of those people, because those are the people that we really want to partner with eventually anyway, and get, I don't know, more insurance coverage from like the police and fire boards and things like that. So it was just an idea. But I really wanted to find out if you guys were on board before I kind of pursued further.
I think definitely getting those first responders in the community out, if we target them, I think the politicians will follow.
Yeah,
Because
I was hoping for that.
Because those are their voters. And so once we get a group following us, they're going to want to know what's happening here. And then of course, whatever locations that we decide to do this in, we're able to reach out to whoever, though, maybe who's ever over that district, if it's in the city, whatever aldermen or, state reps that are a part of the area where we're hosting this. I think a courtesy invitation to them, just to, something that's going out, and then they can also help to fund this too, be a sponsor of these type of community events because it's within their districts. So when we decide to expand out to suburbs, same thing. Who are the state reps and mayors or council people of those townships? We just reach out to them as a courtesy. We were thinking about doing this here. We understand that this is the area that you're over. We love your participation and support in this. This is who we are. This is what we do. And I think that will definitely bring them out if we make it more centered towards the community and the service people of the community. So I think that's a good idea. We can start with one area, see how it, that as a pilot, and then just duplicate the process. Let's see here, we have, I think you have to undo because we're just here. I don't know that we have many members or any of the people who just joined the call. Let's see, exit full screen here. All right. Let's see here. Let's see who we have left here. Dr. Greer. We're just going around for board member comments before we conclude the meeting and go into executive session.
Nada.
Okay. All right. Dr. Zayner's not on board with us. Dr. Poe.
I'm just super excited about working with you all, and please let me know if there's anything I can pursue for you or do. I'm super excited to be on board and happy to work with you all.
Okay. We have the school board's chairman on the line, Dr. Taylor.
Yes, I'm still here.
Yeah. So as opposed to board member, it'll be membership. It's this slide. That's where you would apply for
Yes,
the
I know.
membership.
I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to be always on the top of the page, which is good. I just want to say thank you guys for the meeting, for allowing it to be open and for me to get an idea of how the ANA is operating at this particular point of the game. And y'all just keep doing good work. Just keep doing good work. That's all I got to say. Just keep doing good work.
Okay, all right. Well, that brings us to the end of our regular portion of the meeting. If we have a motion for adjournment of the regular board meeting into executive session.
Make a motion that we adjourn the meeting and continue in executive session.
I second, Mary.
Let's see. So we have a motion to adjourn. Dr. Griggs,
Aye.
how do you vote? I vote aye.
Aye.
Dr. Cavender?
Aye.
Dr. Olson?
Aye.
Dr. Coker?
Aye.
Dr. Zayner is not here. Dr. Greer?
Aye.
All right.
All right, the next is as approved by the meeting schedule, Monday, the fourth day of September. I believe that's September 27th, tentatively. And of course, anytime along the way, we will have monthly updates. Of course, the treasurer's reports and things that we're doing now with the lobbyists. So you will be hearing from us through the email. So we want to make sure that we're checking that. So at 8 p.m. We have for Monday, September 27th, if that is in fact on the Monday. I thought I had my sheet with the next date on there, but I had a typo on the other one before. So meeting for the regular members is adjourned, and we'll just stay on board for a quick executive session just for some updates. Thanks you guys for joining us
Thank you.
today. It'll just
Thank
be
you
the
very
active.
much.
Thank
Okay.
you.